Morning, my dear students. Welcome to my presentation on advocacy from the course Project Management Unit 5. What is advocacy? The word advocacy comes from the term advocara, which means call to one's aid or to speak out on behalf of someone as a legal counselor. We see that there are people who are considered as voiceless. They cannot speak for themselves. They cannot raise voice against the injustice or the problems that take place in their life. And for such people and the people living in the subaltern sections of the society considered to be vulnerable people, a legal counselor or a social activist talks for their favor, speak out on behalf of their rights, their issues, their problems, their socio-economic crisis, and so on. So this, the act of speaking for someone's favor or speaking for the rights of vulnerable sections is called advocacy. This advocacy can be divided in three types of activities: representation, mobilization, empowerment. Representation, we know it is just to speak on their own in others' name in public. So someone is representing the problem or the need of the uh, somebody else or some other communities. Mobilization is to encourage others to speak in public. So people are mobilized to speak in public against their problems and so on. And empowerment, it is to let others know they have the right to speak in public and have the right to be heard. So this is much needed. Empowerment is what is expected and what is needed for today's society, in which we empower people, making people powerful so that their voice can be heard, and making them to realize that they have the right to speak in public. Advocacy is a set of organized actions aimed at influencing public policy, social attitudes, or public process. So, by these actions which are organized in a systematic manner, the social advocates or the activists try to influence public policies in favor of the affected communities, in favor of the vulnerable sections, people living in the subaltern sections, and changing the social attitudes in other words also. Advocacy can include the following, as we already talked: it's enabling and empowering people and giving support to a policy and persuading those with power to act in support of the policy, could be at the local, national, and international levels. And advocacy also include gaining and exercising power to influence a public action. So it's organizing efforts by citizens to influence formulation and implementation of public policies and programs by persuading and pressurizing state authorities, international financial institutions, and other powerful actors. So, in every word, we can conclude that it is a strategy used by the social activists in formulating and implementing policies and programs to meet the needs of the people at the need of the time. So having seen what is advocacy in general, let us talk to advocacy in social work. This advocacy in social work is very close to emancipatory and a transformational perspective. This is something connected with the reformation, change, revolutions, which need to be brought in against the social inequalities, against the social crisis and injustice and so on. So this focuses on the following. This emphasize social work advocacy emphasize the principles of equality, social justice, and social inclusion that underpin social work. And it also attempts to change unjust social systems, institutions, and structures. And the efforts of social work advocacy are in the form of organized actions. And it aims at influencing public policy, societal attitudes, and social political process. Finally, it enables and empowers the marginalized to speak for themselves. This is the ultimate aim. This is what we always talk about. People need to be independent, independent in thoughts, independent in their actions, independent in their daily living. So, advocacy finally culminates in empowerment of the marginalized community to speak for their rights, to speak against their inequalities, injustice, and exclusion, and so on. Meaning of advocacy. Advocacy means drawing attention to an important issue and direct decision makers to a solution. So by advocacy, we focus on a particular prevailing issues in the society and we influence the decision makers to act upon to find a solution for the prevailing social issue. And it is mobilizing members of the community to include the wider community. That is, the mobilization of the people makes the advocacy stronger. When the people are together, when the people are in large number fighting for their fighting for their rights, raising voice against the inequalities and the crisis that take place, and the decision makers, they are compelled to formulate and implement policies or the schemes in favor of them. Developing accountability and transparency of local governments and public services or institutions. Advocacy is a core process for addressing inequality and disparities. And it addresses inequality by bringing the issue of disparities to the forefront of the agenda for decision makers by building the awareness. Definition of advocacy. Hofer defines social work advocacy as that part of social work practice where the social worker takes action in a systematic and purposeful way to defend or represent or otherwise advance the cause of one or more clients and the individual group, organizational, or community level in order to promote social justice. Skinner and Leicester defined social work advocacy as the exclusive and mutual representation of clients or a cause in a forum attempting to systematically influence decision making in an unjust or unresponsive system. So, what is the role of advocacy? The advocacy plays a role in educating people and others about an issue or the problem that needs to be addressed. And it also changes by educating people and making aware, it changes the attitudes and spreading wider awareness in society, addressing specific myth and misconceptions about social problems. Advocacy sensitizes and influence lawmakers, bureaucrats, and the larger communities about the issues of the marginalized and oppressed. And advocacy also organizes efforts to support legal and social change for new laws and enforcement of existing laws. And it develops coalitions and networks to work together to achieve shared goals. And advocacy plays a role of influencing media to represent the contemporary issues of the. Having discussed, let us move on to very important topic, that is practice of advocacy. How advocacy can be practiced, or how advocacy is practiced actively with the help of uh, tools. So we have four tools which can be used or which are widely used by social activists today to practice advocacy. They are public interest litigation, legal aid, social media, advocacy or pressure groups. Let us discuss one by one. Public interest litigation, from this word you can understand. So it's a litigation, a petition filed by a social activist or the social worker or advocate for the favor of the public, for the interest of the public. When the people's rights are violated, when people's needs are not catered, when their voices are not heard, so social activist takes uh, these problems or the issues of the vulnerable sections and he files uh, litigation in the court of law. So in recent times, public interest litigation has become a very significant tool for social advocacy. It is especially resorted to when relief is sought against state agencies. Uh, Under the provisions of the Constitution of India, any person can approach Supreme Court or the High Court for the interest of the public, general public. So that's why social activists nowadays taking into the issues or the problems of the general public approaches the Supreme Court or the High Court for their interest, for their favor, for their justice, so on. So second, how advocacy can be practiced is with the help of legal aid. Article 39A of the Constitution of India provides that state shall secure that the operation of legal system promotes justice on a basis of equal opportunity. That means it shows that the state government should provide free legal aid by suitable legislation or a scheme or any other way, so that a person who finds difficult to find a lawyer or find a person to raise voice against his problems or to present his situations in the court. So it is a duty of the state to ensure that he is given free legal aid. So by free legal aid, uh, the people in the vulnerable sections or in the subaltern societies, they are able to get justice. And this is how the advocacy also is promoted. And pursuant to Article 39A, Legal Services Authorities Act 1987 was enacted to give statutory base to legal aid programs throughout the country on a uniform pattern. This act was finally enforced on 9 November 1995. The third way or the third tool which is used to promote or to practice advocacy is social media. Today we see that there is a technological revolution. Technology plays a wider role to bring revolution, change, transformation in the society. And social media is becoming viral today. So it is then and there uh, showcases the problems or the issues that take place in the society. And the social media is a faster source of amplifying advocacy efforts by reaching out to more people, and it is holding people together, and information transfers exponentially on the internet. Therefore it has a wide reach, and social media has become a pivotal point of almost any movement. On social media and networking websites, people can exchange ideas, debate on issue, pass information to others by sharing media links, videos, and other information. Most popular social advocacy tools includes websites, blogs, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, YouTube, email, etc. Since most of these websites are free, large number of people can access them. In fact, today's world, no advocacy movement can realize its full potential without the social media. Social media has become a powerful tool to practice and to implement advocacy today. The last one is advocacy or pressure groups in the form of non-governmental organizations and forums organized at the local, national, or international levels. So these pressure groups, they address the issues in support of the public welfare, public interest, public good through various activities. They raise issues in public interest, assist in the lawmaking process, influence policy formulation, and so on. So by which they put pressure to bring a transformation or to bring change in favor of the people of the vulnerable sections or the affected community. So with this, I would like to conclude that advocacy has become a powerful instrument or tool to speak for the people who are living in a very pathetic and problematic situation, whose voices are not heard, whose interests or whose needs are not met, whose rights are not safeguarded. So the advocacy plays a role to fight for their rights, to bring justice, and to bring hope in their life. And this is used by active actives active social workers and social activists to bring a equal and just society today. Thank you.